Sometimes innovation and agility can triumph over sheer brute force, and nowhere is that clearer than in the Black Sea, where Ukraine, a nation that once seemed hopelessly outmatched, has managed to drive back the mighty Russian Navy and seize control of the waters that were supposed to be Moscow's stronghold. Before the invasion, the idea that Ukraine could send Russia's much larger Black Sea fleet fleeing from its centuries-old base in Sevastopol might have sounded absurd, yet 4 years into the war, that is precisely what has happened. The advantage, surprisingly, remains firmly with Ukraine. To understand how this came to be, we must go back to 1991, when Ukraine gained independence from the Soviet Union and inherited a modest but capable navy. However, that fleet was devastated in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, seizing or destroying 3/4 of Ukraine's naval assets. The heart of Ukraine's navy was stationed at Donoslav Bay, just 60 miles from Sevastopol, where Russia's Black Sea Fleet had been anchored since 1783. On March 3, 2014, Russia began its assault by blockading the bay, anchoring the flagship cruiser Moskva across the entrance, then scuttling ships like the Ochakov and Shakhty to seal the harbor. 13 Ukrainian ships were trapped and captured, culminating with the fall of the minesweeper Cherkasy on March 27th. Ukraine's once proud navy was reduced to a single operational frigate and a handful of patrol boats, its bases, repair facilities, and personnel decimated. In the years that followed, the US and NATO tried to rebuild Ukraine's navy around a Mosquito fleet, a strategy focused on small, fast vessels designed for coastal defense. The plan was on track, with America supplying Island-class patrol boats and Turkey constructing Ada-class corvettes when Russia launched its full-scale invasion in 2022. At that time, the Russian Black Sea Fleet was 7.5 times larger than Ukraine's and included submarines, destroyers, and missile cruisers, while Ukraine had none. Within the first month, Russia's advantage appeared overwhelming. 27 Ukrainian naval vessels and 18 Coast Guard ships were captured or destroyed during the sieges of Berdyansk and Mariupol. Ukraine even scuttled its own flagship, the frigate Hetman Sahaydachny, to prevent capture. Yet just as it seemed the sea would belong to Russia forever, the tide began to turn. On April 14, 2022, Ukraine struck back with precision, firing Neptune anti-ship missiles that ignited the Moskva, the same ship that once blockaded Donoslav Bay. The cruiser exploded and sank, becoming only the second major warship of its class to be destroyed in combat since the Falklands War. 2 weeks later, Bayraktar TB2 drones destroyed 3 Raptor-class patrol boats near Snake Island, followed by a landing vessel. In June, a Harpoon missile sank the rescue tug Vasily Beck. Then came October 29, 2022, the first major raid on Sevastopol, where Ukraine combined aerial and naval drones in a coordinated strike. Though the attack only damaged the frigate Admiral Makarov and the minesweeper Ivan Golubets, it marked the beginning of a new era. Naval drones had entered the war. Ukraine had found a weapon to neutralize Russia's numerical superiority. Long before the invasion, Ukrainian strategists like Serhiy Kuzan had concluded that traditional parity with Russia was impossible. Instead, they designed an asymmetric navy, a fleet of small patrol craft, rigid inflatable boats, and an ever-growing armada of unmanned surface vehicles backed by drones and anti-ship missiles. By 2023, this doctrine was in full force. On May 24th, the intelligence ship Ivan Kurs was hit by a sea drone. On August 4th, the landing ship Olenogorsky Gornyak was struck near Novorossiysk, forcing Russian vessels to scatter in panic. That September, Ukrainian Su-24s armed with British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles struck Sevastopol, destroying the Minsk landing ship and crippling the submarine Rostov-on-Don, while another patrol ship, Sergei Kotov, was later sunk by a naval drone in March 2024. In November 2023, Ukraine struck the Zaliv shipyard in Kerch, damaging the Kaliber-armed corvette Askold, and on December 26th, it obliterated the Novocherkassk landing ship in a fiery explosion that killed 74 crew members. By 2024, Ukraine's deadliest weapon in the Black Sea was the Magara Phi 5C drone, a sleek, water jet-powered unmanned surface vehicle costing about $273,000. At 18 feet long and capable of speeds up to 48 miles per hour, the Magara carried over 700 pounds of explosives and could range up to 500 miles, placing all of Crimea within its reach. With a carbon fiber hull, low radar signature, and advanced navigation and satellite communications, the drone could operate autonomously or in swarms. On February 1st, 2024, video confirmed Magura 5 drones sinking the Tarantul-class corvette Ivanovets in Donoslav Bay. Weeks later, they destroyed the landing ship Cesar Kunikov off Crimea's coast, followed by the tugboat Saturn on June 6th. Russia scrambled to respond, reinforcing Sevastopol with nets, booms, patrols, helicopter surveillance, and even anti-diver dolphins, but to little effect. By April 2024, one-third of Russia's Black Sea fleet, 27 of 80 vessels, including a submarine, had been sunk or disabled, prompting the British Defense Ministry to declare the fleet functionally inactive. The Moskva's loss was catastrophic. It had been the fleet's only cruiser capable of defending an entire formation from air attack, and its destruction forced Russia to abandon plans for an amphibious landing at Odessa. By October 2023, Russia began retreating from the northwestern Black Sea, and by July 2024, its last warship had left Sevastopol. The once formidable fleet was relocated to Novorossiysk, 186 miles east, in what former Royal Navy Captain Tom Sharp called a humiliation. Forced to abandon Sevastopol and seek refuge further east, he wrote, "They are finding that nowhere is safe." Indeed, Ukraine's success at sea fed into a larger strategy of kinetic sanctions, a campaign to cripple Russia's war economy by targeting oil refineries, logistics hubs, and military industry. By striking deep into Russian territory, Ukraine aimed to make the war economically unsustainable. On January 6, 2025, the Ukrainian Navy used sea drones to launch FPV air drones from the Black Sea for the first time, hitting Kherson and destroying multiple air defense systems, including two Panzer S-1S and OSA AKM, and two S-300s worth $350 million in total. Just days earlier, on New Year's Eve, Ukraine achieved another first when Magura 5 drones destroyed two Russian Mi-8 helicopters and damaged a third, marking the first time aircraft had been taken out by naval drones. In May 2025, Ukraine made history again when a Magura Sea drone armed with AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles shot down a $50 million Su-30 fighter jet, an unprecedented moment in air combat history. A second Su-30 fell later that same day, reportedly by the upgraded Magura 7 variant. The innovations continued into August, when Ukrainian intelligence reported a naval drone strike near Zalizny port that destroyed a Russian patrol boat, killing 5 crew. The attack combined laser-guided missiles with aerial drones for precision coordination. On September 24, 2025, Ukrainian sea drones hit oil terminals in Tuapse and Novorossiysk, paralyzing export operations at facilities central to Russia's crude exports, together capable of shipping 2 million barrels per day. Even as Ukraine refined its tactics, it unveiled a new generation of naval drones. The Barracuda, revealed in September 2025, was a modular unmanned craft designed for rivers and coastal waters, equipped with AI elements for semi-autonomous navigation, target recognition, and threat response. Ukraine's 40th Coastal Defense Brigade described it as capable of operating day or night in any weather, with modern tracking systems and remote control options that reduced operator strain. Despite these advances, Russia has not stood still. By 2025, Moscow was rebuilding its naval capabilities, with President Putin announcing a $100 billion decade-long modernization program to address the vulnerabilities exposed in the Black Sea. Yet the challenge remains enormous. As Ukrainian intelligence chief Kirilo Budanov put it, the Black Sea fleet is fully blocked. The Russians used to joke that Ukraine had no fleet. Now they are faced with the same thing. Russia has relocated most of its vessels away from the front lines and reinforced coastal defenses, but Ukraine's drones continue to test those perimeters. Inspired by Ukraine's example, Russia has begun developing its own unmanned surface vehicles, such as the Vizier, Marina, Orkan, and BEK-1000, many of them borrowing design features from Ukrainian prototypes. These drones are being designed for reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and even offensive operations. And in August 2025, Russia claimed its first successful USV strike, sinking the Ukrainian reconnaissance ship Sevastopol near the Danube. Moscow is also experimenting with the Katran, a naval drone carrier capable of deploying swarms of FPV kamikaze drones up to 125 miles away. Despite these efforts, the technological gap remains vast. The rest of the world has taken notice. According to Admiral Sir Ben Key, former head of the Royal Navy, the rise of unmanned vessels represents a dreadnought moment, a revolutionary shift comparable to the early 20th century transition to steel battleships. We're once again facing something completely new, a paradigm shift, he said in 2023. Ukraine's success has shown navies everywhere that unmanned vessels are no longer a theoretical supplement, but an essential element of future warfare. China, Iran, and North Korea have accelerated development of AI-enabled naval drones, while NATO nations rush to adapt both their offensive and defensive strategies. The age of the billion-dollar warship may be ending, replaced by fleets of small, smart, expendable machines that can strike faster, cheaper, and deadlier than ever before. Just as Ukraine's use of inexpensive FPV drones reshaped ground warfare by turning $500 devices into tank killers, its innovations at sea have done the same to naval warfare, proving that in the modern era, the side with imagination and adaptability, not just firepower, often wins. The race is now on to see who will dominate this new era of autonomous combat. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button and enable notifications so you don't miss out on the latest military deep dives from Ukraine and beyond. Thanks for watching.